Welcome to On Point, the only real and unscripted talk show that educates, motivates, and inspires. Featuring interesting topics on health, finances, real estate, education, technology, politics, legal issues, and more. Hello and welcome to On Point, the talk show. I am Deli, and considering that this is Black History Month, a month that I do not celebrate because I personally feel that every month in the year belongs to Black history, belongs to us as a people, and we should always be aware of our heritage, our history, and celebrate that every day of every year. So I'm fully aware that some of you take Black History Month very seriously. And as such, I am doing this show today because I feel that it is very important and the topic at hand is very important and we all need to discuss this. So recently, Congresswoman Kamala Harris was on the Breakfast Club where she was asked certain questions with regards to where she was born, her race, and so on and so forth, because many African Americans, not just African Americans, but many people in this country believe that she is not Black. So I'm going to pause right here and I'm going to play you a segment from the interview, which I pulled from CNN. I'm going to share that with you and then we can come back and discuss the rest of this.
Another meme says, Kamala Harris is not African American. Her parents were immigrants from India and Jamaica, and she was raised in Canada, not the United States. And it said, fact. That's what the meme said.
So I was born in Oakland.
Yeah.
and raised in the United States, except for the years that I was in high school in Montreal, Canada. And look, this is the same thing they did to Barack.
Yes.
This is not new to us. And so I think that we know what they're trying to do. They're trying to do what has been happening over the last 2 years, which is powerful voices trying to sow hate and division among us. Mm-hmm. And so we need to recognize when we're being played.
Okay, so she has stated her position. Point well taken. However, there was an exchange between Don Lemon and April Ryan. Let's.
What do you make of her answer, April?
Good for her. There's a lot to unpack here. Number one, what does Black enough mean? Can someone give me a definition of what Black enough is? I don't want to go down the road of the stereotype when people say we're Black. Number one, she is a Black woman. She's a mixed race woman. When you see her Blackness, but she is also South Asian. Her mom is South Asian and her dad is Jamaican.
April,
let
me listen.
Yes.
More power to her. And I think it's great. That should be enough. Listen, it is enough that she's a Black woman.
We are not a monolith.
But no.
But they did the same thing.
No. I think you're not hearing what people are saying. The people who are saying is she Black enough? That's bull. That's BS. But to want a distinction to say is she African American, or is she Black, or is she whatever? There is nothing wrong with that. There is a difference between being African American and being Black. Latino people are people of color, but they're not Black. They're brown people.
She is a woman of color, but she is a Black woman.
Okay, that's why I agree with that. I agree with that. But is she African American? No. But is she African American? There is a difference. There's nothing wrong with that.
That one is a mind blower coming from Don Lemon. That's a level of utter stupidity that I don't think I've ever heard coming from a journalist. Really, Don Lemon? Is there a race or an ethnicity called African American? I think not. I also think it's important to recognize that not all Latinos are brown people, There are a lot of Latinos that are black, okay? Originally, it was Negro. Then we moved from Negro to being blacks. Then we moved from blacks to being African Americans. So obviously, there are some confusion that exists. But I think all around the world, we are called black people. All around the world, there is white people. Then there is Latino people. There's a clear distinction. There is no such thing as African Americans. Let's be real about it. Let's be real about it. What there is are black Americans living in America, black people living in Jamaica, black people native of Africa, black people in the UK, black people all over the world. There's no such thing as African Americans. And let me just give you guys a history of that term that we so use loosely. In December of 1988, a news conference at the Chicago's Hyatt Regency O'Hare Hotel was held where leaders of 75 black groups met to discuss a national black agenda. Jesse Jackson announced that members of their race were preferred to be called African Americans. He announced that. The campaign he then led to replace the term black met immediate success among African American opinion makers and more gradually acceptable in the national press. Jackson's cultural offensive proposed an ethnic reference for a racial one, aiming thereby to help create as much as express a sense of ethnic identity among black Americans. It recalled the successful imposition of black over Negro 20 years earlier and renewed other themes of the Black Power movement of the late 1960s. Still, I say black Americans, Jamaicans, blacks in America, blacks in Africa, blacks in America, blacks in Canada. It's black people. And let me just go on to say that identifying as African Americans, let's face the reality of this thing. A lot of black Americans are not even accepting of the fact that they have African ancestry. And I know this because I've been told, go back to wherever I'm from, blah, 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 by black Americans. They've said it to the Africans. They've said it to other people of other race and backgrounds and ethnicity. So to identify yourself as African and not even acknowledging the fact that your ancestors came over here from Africa, not willingly, but unwillingly. My ancestors came to Jamaica from Africa. And wherever else your ancestor went to, from Africa, there are black people on the African continent. Negro are Negro. So I do not buy that term. I do not endorse the term because, in my opinion, it gives blacks in America a certain perceived leverage over blacks from other places. And let me get into the situation of accent, because it is perceived by many, not just blacks, but by many, that if you have an accent other than a British accent or an American accent, you're not as intelligent as people from Great Britain or from America. That's so far from the truth. So if we're going to have an intellectual argument about black and what it means to be black, what it means to identify and embrace your blackness, let's begin with our attitudes towards other blacks from other places outside of America and how we perceive them. I have African friends who are pumping gas at the gas station. And there's one particular gas station that I frequent, not because my African friends work there, but because they are a great group of people. When we engage in conversation, it is always intelligent conversation. Keep in mind that although my friend, one of them is from Africa, he has an engineering degree. So let's eliminate the part where we think that blacks from different countries are less intelligent than blacks here in America. I have met some of the most ignorant black folks right here in this country. Just like I have met some of the most ignorant black folks from my country that I'm from, Jamaica. So if you're going to equate blackness or the term African Americans as if you are in a sense superior from blacks from other countries, I'm gonna knock that down immediately, because you're not. I am not superior to you because I'm from Jamaica. So is a guy from Africa not superior to you because he's from Africa. But there's a certain perception and misconception among some blacks, not everyone now. Let me not group everyone together, because I've met black Americans who are very, very proud of the fact that their ancestors are from the motherland of Africa, and they embrace it. But there's some level of ignorance that still exists in this country where certain blacks feel that they are superior above blacks from other places. We need to really check ourselves when it comes to certain way of thinking and attitudes that we have among our fellow black folks. Let me go back to this article that I initially started off with. Names can be more than tags. They can convey powerful imagery. So naming, proposing, imposing, and accepting names can be a political exercise. And the call for blacks to be called African Americans was far more than a manner of speaking. Jesse Jackson said, to be called African Americans has cultural integrity. It puts us in our proper historical context. That's what he said. So every ethnic group in this country has a reference to some land base, some historical cultural base. That's what he said. African Americans have hit that level of cultural maturity. They are African Americans and Jewish Americans and Arab Americans and Italian Americans, and with a degree of accepted and reasonable pride, they connect their heritage to their mother country and where they are now. But go back to what I was saying. A lot of blacks in America still do not connect their heritage to Africa, because there is a certain level of superiority that exists among some folks who think that because they are black and were born in America, they have the claim of being American, which is true, but that does not make you superior to blacks from other places. And that is where I am concerned. Once again, at the end of the day, we are all black people. But there's a certain level of superior that exists among certain groups of blacks above other groups of blacks. We exercise prejudice against each other. I've been on the receiving end of it from fellow blacks. This lady once told me during an Uber ride, she recognized that I have an accent. First, she asked where I'm from. I said, I'm from Jamaica. She said, my daughter is dating a Jamaican and I'm really not happy with it. So I asked her why. She said, number one, he's from Jamaica. Number two, he doesn't speak our language. So I said, what do you mean by that? Jamaicans speak English. Our official language is English. She said, there's something about him that I don't like. He is Jamaican. And I look at this lady like, okay. My African friends, some of them have been on the receiving end of it. I've been at the gas station where a black American start disrespecting the African gas attendant and even went as far as asking him, why is he even here in America? I've witnessed that with my own 2 eyes and ears. So to see Kamala Harris coming under fire, stating that she's not black or she's Indian and Jamaican. The last time I checked, Jamaicans were black, they were Indians, they were whites. Jamaicans are made up of different ethnicity, skin tone, and complexion. So the same argument they have why Barack Obama should not have been president is the same argument that is seeping in to Kamala Harris's run for president of the United States in 2020. And as we move forward, these things are going to get intense. It's going to intensify. And she's going to come under a lot more fire from people who just feel that she does not belong. So I am still puzzled at Don Lemon's response. Being a journalist, being someone that I thought was well educated and a person of intellect, I am shocked. I have friends who are clearly mixed with black blood and white blood. Here in America, they're considered blacks. They identify themselves as being black. They don't identify themselves as being mixed, whatever the reason is for that. But I embrace them wholeheartedly for who they are as individuals. Because at the end of the day, all I see and all I hear is the blackness in them. So until we learn to get rid of all of these labels that we place on each other and learn to live with each other and accept each other as what we are, there will always be conversations like this, which at the end of the day do not help any of us, but help to divide us. We also need to recognize that these labels that we place on each other and the attitude that comes with these labels are detrimental to all of us. No, you're not superior because you're from one place over another place. No, you're not superior because of your level of education. You may be a little bit more intelligent than the next person, but still, that doesn't make you superior. Because you're white doesn't make you superior over black. Because you're black doesn't make you superior over Indian and vice versa. So we need to realize that these things have real implications in the end. This has been another episode of On Point. We're staying on purpose for our communities. In all that you do, remember to keep it on point.